Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Chat with Kat, where I have real chats with real people about real life. And today I have the amazing Bree on with me, and we're going to talk about kinesiology and energy work and how this all integrates into a healthy, well-balanced life. So, welcome, Bree. I'm so excited to have you on here today.
Hi, thank you. I really appreciate being here today and having the chance to talk all things about kinesiology and my experience in the spiritual world.
I love it. I love it. So, as we get started, I would love for you to share a bit about your background. What kind of led you to this path in your life that you're on today? Give us a little nugget.
Yeah, of course. So after school, I went straight to uni and studied psychology. I've always been interested in learning about the mind. In hindsight, I do feel I actually just wanted to know more about myself.
Mm,
Because by the end of the degree, as much as I love helping people, I realized that psychology, like one-on-one counseling, definitely wasn't what I wanted to do as a job. I then moved into a background of social work. So, with
okay.
using the psychology degree, I worked for the Department of Child Safety and did that uh, for overall 4 years in different departments, and I enjoyed it. It was quite heavy for a 21-year-old to be taking on a lot of trauma and a lot of outside perspectives. But I made the most of it and then found myself a role in domestic violence, which I've been working in for the last 2 years. And with all that, I just felt something was missing because I was doing a lot of work on myself in regards to mental health, how working out how to fill my own cup, enjoy my days and be fulfilled, but something was missing. And I was seeing it within all my clients as well. And that's when I stumbled upon a kinesiologist. So a friend of mine was like, "Oh, why don't you go see this lady, see how you go?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not? I'm quite open-minded." And she just connected all the dots that I couldn't. So being
Mm,
able to go into the subconscious mind, being able to go into intergenerational trauma, and really on a energetic and subconscious level support me. And that's when I was like, oh my God, like all of these other jobs have led me to this point in life right now, and it's I'm going to study to become a kinesiologist. So yeah, that's a bit about me and how I stumbled, I suppose you could say, across the career. But yeah.
yeah, I love that. How do you found working with children or domestic violence in the social aspect affected your energy?
Yeah, that's a great question. I have gone through many different eras of how it's affected me. So when I first started working, I was just what's the word? I wasn't taking on any of the actual trauma that was happening to myself. So I suppressed my emotions.
Mm,
I had good supports that I would talk to, but my partner at the time, he didn't really understand really what was happening day to day in my job and what I was taking home. So I went on like that for 3 years. I
yeah.
actually found myself in a very not great place. My nervous system was super dysregulated. I was
Mm,
struggling with bloating, anxiety, depression, all of those labels that I don't use now, but at the time I that's how what was showing up in my life. And yeah, it took some other things that happened in my life to really rock me and maybe like I can't do this anymore. I can't keep on taking on everyone else's things and supporting everyone else and not supporting myself. So that was a big oh my god moment. I left the Department of Child Safety and worked for an external agency who supported me a lot better within the job so that I could then support myself outside of the job. But yeah, I mean, today I've learned so much more about mental health and regulating the nervous system and filling your own cup before you support other people. It definitely still affects me. I could never say that I go to work and nothing, I you're just blindsided to everything that's happening. But I definitely have a lot more coping skills and a lot more people around me to support me through the more challenging times. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's really good to have those people you feel safe around that you can connect to and that, can help lift you up and like almost just bring you back from,
Yeah.
you know, everything you're experiencing and absorbing from the outside. So, would you say a lot of physical symptoms that people deal with today stem from a lot of emotional trauma?
100%. In my own experience, it definitely was. I was very naive to the fact that the stress I was under was the reason for the physical symptoms. So I thought I was gluten intolerant. I thought I was allergic to dust. I
Oh,
was finding so many external reasons for why my health was bad, to the extent I actually, this is a little bit rogue thinking, but I thought I was allergic to my ex-boyfriend because he was in my life and I was feeling so sick. And I was like, well, I'm not the problem. You are. Like, I was finding every little thought process to deflect that I was actually really upset from within and dysregulated from within from the pressure and the stress that I was under from work and the stress I was putting on myself.
yeah. So, what would you say to people right now in that situation? Where would you tell them to start?
I would say come to see a kinesiologist because honestly, I went through 6, 7 years of those symptoms and that dysregulated nervous system. And it wasn't until I saw a kinesiologist that everything just like fell into place. But if you, for any reason, don't have the means to do that, or that's not something that you're comfortable with, learning how to regulate your nervous system, learning your triggers, embracing meditation, embracing breath work, embracing going and sitting alone and actually feeling what is going on in your body to feel. I am a strong believer, feel, heal, and then you can transform that energy into something that's greater and going to be for the better of your good.
I love that. Yeah, I 100% agree. When you can learn to regulate your nervous system and understand why those feelings are coming up, it's like a whole other level of awareness. And you
Yeah,
really do start to shift and understand not only yourself better, but why you react and why these things come up and trigger you all the time. And then for people who aren't familiar with kinesiology, can you explain what that is?
of course. So, kinesiology, I like to say, is the combination of the spiritual world, mental health, and physical health. So, on a subconscious level, the kinesiology practitioner supports you through muscle monitoring, which is, I can explain that as well. It's a whole nother thing to explain. But the practitioner supports you through muscle monitoring to speak to the subconscious brain to figure out your triggers and then uses an energy balance to bring you back to a regulated state.
Okay. So when you talk about the muscle thing, is that like when people hold out their arm and then someone tries to push it down? Okay,
Yeah, so
yeah.
the actual science behind that is that the body the body knows more than the body knows more than the brain knows, really, but it works
Yeah.
interconnected. So when you go into a stress state, your muscles are actually contracting also. So through, even if it's verbal communication or a spiritual communication of just two energies, if your body is in a stress state, I can tell by the muscle monitoring, which, yeah, is exactly me using. I don't know the exact name of this muscle, but using this muscle to figure out if it's stressed or not. But you can use it for any muscle through the kinesiology training I've done. Like, if someone, for any reason, I didn't have access to their arm, you can test any muscle within the body. The arm's just an easy one to use as a gauge. Yeah.
Yeah. That's really cool. And then what is one specific thing that you would help clients work through?
My passion at the moment is stagnant emotions.
Mm,
And it's a passion because it's something that's really, really close to home for me. I spent, as I said, so many years suppressing my emotions. I didn't understand. I was so logical that I was like, oh, I've done my psych degree. I had an upbringing where I was told to say your emotions when you're feeling them, and I thought I had all the tools to be regulated in this life. And it wasn't until I realized that I was, let's say, a little too logical in the way of I was just thinking my feelings. So I was like, oh, yeah, I'm happy. Oh, yeah, I'm sad. And I would stay this same state. And it wasn't until something like in my environment or in my life would blow up that I was like, oh my God, like I actually haven't dealt with anything from the past. Well, I like to think I had a bit of an awakening and I was like, oh my God, I haven't dealt with anything for the past like 25 years. Like, how am I going to deal with it all now? So, yeah, it's a passion of mine to support people that are in the position that I was in to feel safe to feel their emotions. And kinesiology is a beautiful tool to support someone because it actually goes straight to the subconscious brain. So you're taking out all the clients, not all the clients' ability to be rational. We're always going to be rational. But when
mm,
you're in a meditative state, it's easier to support them to feel rather than think.
okay, that's really cool. And you mentioned awakening. That's the next thing I want to talk about. We were chatting very briefly before the call, about having an awakening. So share what that was like for you.
Honestly, it wasn't like this big, oh my God, I'm spiritual in the way of I'm not religious, but I do believe in a higher source that I call the universe. It wasn't like I woke up one day and I was like, oh my God, the universe has my back and everything's gonna be okay. It was more a compounding mess of my life. I got to a point where I was like, I'm doing all the things. Like I'm doing movement in the morning. I've got a good job. I've got good friends. I've got great family. But I felt like something was missing. And yeah, I went through not a great time. Honestly, it's been a roller coaster for the past 3 years. And I feel like it's just been that compounding of figuring out like who I am and what I actually stand for and what I actually believe in. And within all that, I have found spirituality and a beautiful trust in the universe to support me on my journey.
Mm, yeah. And that's what a lot of people can feel like when you say you're doing all the things, but there just feels like there's something missing, or like, when's the shoe gonna drop? Or like, when am I gonna have this big breakthrough? Like, when is everything just gonna balance out? Um, what can you speak on to that for people going through something similar?
It's funny you ask that because I'm going through that right now. So I can speak with a very, very warm heart for the people that are going through difficult times and feeling really, really overwhelmed with life right now.
Mhm.
And it's something I actually wouldn't want someone to say to me, but it is so true. You have to trust that something better is on its way. I believe sometimes things have to blow up for you to let go of the things that don't serve you anymore to bring in new beautiful things into your life. And if you are passionate and want to be on this spiritual journey of getting to know not only yourself, but the universe, like in a more deep way, then you have to trust that something better and something more beautiful is on its way.
Yeah, I love that. I also, hated when people would tell me those like cliche things like, oh, just think positive, or just act your way into feeling like you're a millionaire, or all these things, and you're like, I don't get it. Um, so what did you do to really trust in the process? And then when did it all kind of connect for you?
It all connected when I surrendered and accepted. So I feel there's a bit of a trend in the spiritual world that I did it when I started like learning about these things as well. Like you get your tarot cards out, you get your crystals out. You're like, I'm spiritual. Like everything's going to be okay and I'm going to do all these things and like life's just going to fall into place. But I was doing that for like 3 years and I didn't feel like life was in place yet. Like I have my big goals. I want my like future partner who's like a soul connection. I want that job that like I just wake up each morning and I'm ignited to go. I don't have those things in my life right now, but I have to trust they're coming. And with feeling at ease in the void of where you are in the in between, it's
Yeah.
just accepting that you're there and surrendering to it might not look like how you think it's going to look like. Like, I
Mhm.
thought I was going to have my future husband when I went to Europe last year. I was like, yep, I've had this vision. I've seen him on the Greek islands. Like, he's going to be like this tall, this, yeah, like all the things. And like, no. I've met some beautiful men that were lovely people, but they weren't my human. And I had to then sit with that I was like, oh, okay, well, that didn't happen, but it is going to happen one day. It's just not going to happen how I think it's going to happen.
Yeah. It's quite funny how we often put an expectation or a timeline on things because we feel like that's when we need it to happen. So, in your experience, what have you done to release that like need or that expectation and allow things to flow?
With a lot of difficulty. I can't sit here and tell you that I don't still get a little dysregulated when it doesn't happen the way I want it to happen. But
Yeah.
I've really just sat in that that's life and manifesting is beautiful. I strongly believe in manifesting, but I manifest in a way different way than I used to. I manifest on the feeling. So it's easier to find glimpses of those feelings in your day to day and know that you're on the right track rather than being like, oh, I don't have the boyfriend. I don't have the house. I don't have the like materialistic things that I'm manifesting. But I am manifesting also that fulfillment, that happiness, that joy, that feeling of safety that I can have in the real time to know that I'm going to have it in a greater capacity in the future.
Yeah. That's really beautiful. I do definitely believe in that too because it's not really about the things and once you get them, it's about the feeling and the experience of it at the end of the day. Um, I've had other coaches and stuff in the past tell me too, if you can go back to a point in your life and say, like, give yourself examples of where you've done it. It's just about reminding yourself that you've done it before. It's just not yet a habit. So, how do you suggest people making these things more of like a habit of getting into that feeling rather than like being affected by the outer world?
I try to do it in my day to day. And again, it doesn't always happen. Life happens and life goes very quick. So sometimes you get out of your little routines. And it's not until you find yourself in a bit of a like heavier place again, you're like, oh no, I need to go back to sit in nature for an hour and just collaborate. No, that's not the right word, but re jizz my brain up.
Yeah.
um, so if I'm really feeling it, I'll just go sit in nature and do a simple like body scan, explaining a body scan of just going through your senses or going through from head to toe. What are you feeling? And then finding things that I'm grateful for within that. I sat in silence for 2 hours out in Currumbin yesterday because I had just had enough. I was like, I need to just go be at peace. Even though there's a lot of moving parts in my life, I need an hour of just being at peace in my mind. And I found beauty in the most smallest of things. A butterfly flying by, a little child was jumping across the rocks, and it took me back to an experience that I had when I was younger. Like literally sitting in silence gives you the mental capacity and space to find beauty in the most smaller things, even on a really, really bad day.
Hmm. Yeah, that is so true. I had a thought yesterday of when you stop speaking, you'll hear the message. because a lot of times we want to talk out our feelings, we want to talk out our frustrations, and we want to figure out the answer and dissect everything. I also too went on a walk and sat in the grass by this beautiful pond area yesterday, and I just like let it all go. And it was so magical. Like I left my house just in shambles, crying. I had quite an overwhelming experience, but also a very beautiful day. But just everything together, it just came out of my eyes, and it's so true. I just have immediately trained myself, get up and go for a walk, or like go sit in the grass, or sit in the sun and just be.
I
And
think it's a big thing with phones as well. A lot of people think they're doing that. But if you've got your phone on and you're still texting people or you're still scrolling, you're not actually giving yourself the time and space to actually feel at ease. And I know how hard it can be when you start. I actually was writing in my journal yesterday of like remembering times when I couldn't sit with myself for an hour. So if it's not an hour, that is fine. Sit with yourself for a minute, for 5 minutes. Like work
yeah,
it up until you do feel comfortable to be with yourself for long periods of time. And I had to do that when I went overseas because I sat there on planes for hours on end. Like, yeah, you might have the slight chat to the person beside you, but when you're on a 18-hour flight,
oh
you've
geez,
got no one else, and if you haven't like let go of some things in your mind, that's gonna be a hard 18 hours.
it's like hello. I- I'm here.
The demons are gonna come up.
Yeah, let's have a chat about things.
Which might be really beautiful. And honestly, I mine did because I hadn't sat in that much peace for that long. Um, but it was a beautiful experience of having that time with myself, that forced time with myself.
Yeah, so true. What type of clients are you looking to work with right now?
I am happy to work with anyone. I'm a big believer in this healing space. You attract the right clients that come to you. I do have my background in psychology and social work, so if someone is really struggling with their mental health, it may be a safe space to come and try some energy healing. I don't have a counseling certificate, so I don't offer counseling within my own business. So it is just energy healing and kinesiology, but I feel it does support people knowing I've got a background of holding space and holding people that do have trauma. So yeah, my passion is in just supporting people to really not only be themselves and express themselves in a vulnerable way. Sometimes people don't have supports to be able to really let go. So that's a space I would like to, yeah, hold people in.
Yeah. And is there anything else that you can think of that you want to share today that would be really impactful or inspiring for people?
It just came in, dance. If all else fails and you can't get outside into nature and you're having a mentee bee, which we all do, and it should be normalized, just dance. Put on your favorite music and dance your heart out. Like no one's watching, no one cares. Like I dance is the most underrated like healing modality I feel, and it's something you can do for free at home. Like how
Yeah.
cool is that?
Yeah, movement. I always think of like if you're sitting, you're stagnant or stuck. So if you get up and move, you're shifting and creating energy, and immediately things start to alleviate.
Absolutely. And women hold so much trauma in their hips. And I just love the whole concept of shaking it all out.
Get like Shakira and shake that booty, right?
Yeah, if you don't know what song to put on, put that one on.
Yeah. Funny story. My friend was like uber pregnant and her hips just were always killing her. And I was like, why don't we just do some twerking? She's like, what? So I found a YouTube video. And we just like were in her living room twerking. We were like on our knees on the floor, like butts in the air. Her husband and her husband's brother walk in and they're like, "What are you guys doing?" And we're like, "Releasing the pressure from her hips. The baby's just bothering her right now." It was so fun. And then, it just kind of, I kept going with it. I'm like, I'm going to learn how to twerk, whatever.
You're like, I don't even have a baby inside me, but I am going to get this energy out. Yeah, absolutely. I love that.
It was really fun. Well, as we close out things today, where can people connect with you?
So, my main platform is Instagram at the Holistic Healing Practitioner. And yeah, send me a message. I am starting a TikTok, which will have the same name, but I'm still leaning into the whole social media world.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And I will also include that in the show notes, you guys. As always, we really appreciate you being here. Make sure you like, you comment, you share this with your best friend because who doesn't want to have a good time together? And then always comment too, because we would love to connect with you, know what's resonating, know what hit, because that's how we put more messages out into the world to support you. So thank you so much, Bree, for coming on today. I really appreciate having you.
No, thank you. I really appreciated this opportunity.
Awesome. And we'll see you guys soon.